William Michael Griffin, soon to be known to the world as Rakim, began his senior year of high school sure that his next move was to attend Stony Brook University to play quarterback. Rapping was a fun way to pass time, but college and football was his future. Or so he thought. Nevertheless, wanting to impress once he landed on campus, he made a beat at a friend's house and rhymed over it for a full 60 minutes, filling up both sides of a Memorex cassette. His plan was to let everyone at Stony Brook know that he was an MC, the best around, as a matter of fact. With that tape, he would bypass the need to battle. He reasoned that simply playing the tape would shut the whole conversation down. This would allow him to get his head right and focus exclusively on football. One problem, however, his mind was becoming consumed by rap. The whole summer of 1986, he delivered verses from 10 in the morning until midnight, every single day. He was either flowing in his house, in someone's studio, or in the park. It didn't matter where he was. He was always thinking about words, patterns, vocabulary, and rhymes. Although he wasn't officially making songs yet, at a certain point, he was making 2 tapes a day, each tape being 10 to 15 minutes of straight rhyming. No structure, no hooks, no choruses, just exercising, refining, fine-tuning the craft. Now, a few days after he'd made a particularly good tape, his friend Alvin Toney knocked on his door accompanied by a tall individual William didn't know. And though he'd told Alvin that he didn't like anyone bringing folks he didn't know to his door, he gave it a pass this time. You see, Alvin told him that this unknown person knew Marley Marl and Mr. Magic. Marley Marl was the hottest producer at the time, while the strength of Mr. Magic lay in being a radio DJ at WBLS, one of the few stations spinning rap records at the time. Impressed, William, Rakim, invited them in. The unknown fellow was Eric B., born Louis Eric Barrier. Now, he told Rakim about his plans to make a DJ album consisting of his beats laced with rhymes from all the best MCs he'd met in his travels. Now, he'd been asking people around town who they considered the best MC. Well, the answer that he most often received was Rakim. Now, this led him to Alvin Toney, which then led to Rakim's doorstep. After introductions and entering the house, Rakim put on the tape he'd put together to impress at the university. A mere 5 minutes into the tape, Eric B. told Rakim that they should get over to Marley Marl's and record immediately. And Rakim told him that he couldn't sign a contract, seeing as a contract would be in violation with his college football career. Eric's reply, no problem, going further to say that he could be a guest on his record, thus sidestepping the need for a contract. A week later, Eric B. and Rakim were on the train from Long Island to Queensbridge Houses, New York, on their way to Marley Marl's studio. Marley Marl's studio was actually his sister's apartment. Now, despite being an apartment, it was also the place where artists like MC Shan, Roxanne Shante, Biz Markie, and some years later, the likes of Nas made some of their hottest records. Now, Rakim walked past the kitchen and into the living room, which was full of mixing boards, keyboards, speakers, drum machines, tons of vinyl records, and a microphone. Rakim, Eric B., and Marl sat on the couch and talked music for a while, figuring out what they wanted to do. Eventually, Rakim handed the Stony Brook tape to Marley Marl, who began playing it. Marl added some music to one of the beats Rakim had created. Once finished, he handed Rakim the mic, telling him it was time to start laying down some verses. Rakim used rhymes from the Stony Brook tape, in particular, lines from a song he called My Melody. Sitting on the couch in the living room felt right. He was relaxed and ready and laid down the rhymes just as he'd heard them in his mind, smooth and relaxed. Marl's feedback was simple. He said, "Yo, that was dope. Let's do it again with a little more energy." You see, at the time, it was the norm for rappers to do a shouting style of rapping when on the mic, a style cemented by the likes of Run DMC, LL Cool J, among others. It was forceful and tough. Though Rakim did respect them and the style, he didn't want that sound for himself. He considered his lyrics to be more thought-provoking and reasoned that if people were going to listen to what he had to say, he would be better off with a calmer, more relaxed delivery. In the park, it made sense to yell, but in the studio, he noticed that he could rhyme without yelling. He favored the more conversational approach for several reasons, one being the control it gave him over his voice. He'd put a good deal of effort into intentionally changing his delivery, and over time, he taught himself to remain calm while he rhymed. A happy side effect of this was how it made him stand out from other rappers. So when Marley Marl asked him if he could do it again with more energy, he wouldn't budge. He knew precisely what kind of MC he wanted to be and wasn't about to let anyone steer him in any other direction. So, still on the couch, he started up again. He laid down the verse with the same energy as before, and the feedback echoed the previous. "I like the lines," Marley said, "but try to put more energy into it." After the fourth time, Marl suggested that Rakim stand up. Maybe by doing that, he would be able to connect with the energy he considered vital for the performance. Annoyed, Rakim told him that he could stand up, he could sit, he could do practically anything. It didn't matter because it would nevertheless sound the same. An hour later, they were no closer to agreeing on a style that would satisfy both. Marl kept whispering into Eric B's ear, telling him that the rhymes were delivered too slow and were giving him a headache. So at the end of his patience, Marl yelled how he'd recorded Shantae and Shan and about how he knew what an MC was supposed to sound like. Well, without raising his voice, without losing his cool, or even being mad about the situation, Eric B simply told Marley Marl that a new day of hip-hop had arrived.